Hello, PCA community. Happy Thanksgiving week. This is Monday before Thanksgiving, and hopefully you are all on break somewhere where you want to be with people you want to be with. And we thank God for this time. This is a couple days beforehand. I'm sitting with 4 upper school spiritual leaders, all small group leaders, and we look forward to introducing them to you and having a great conversation about what God's doing in our small groups among our students. And so without further ado, if you get us going, on my left.
I'm Charlie. I live in Durham, and I've been at PCA for 2.5 years so far. And I'd say my main role at PCA is being a small group leader and being a good friend to everybody I meet. And I'd say I'm known at school for maybe my kind attitude, I'd like to say. And a goal I have for the future is to own my own business.
Wow, that's really cool. Any idea what type of business you might want to go into? At least start in?
Maybe financial.
Okay.
Somewhere in that area.
That's really cool. That's really cool. All right, next.
I'm Linnie. I live in Dover. I've been at PCA for 6 years, and I don't really know if I'm known for anything. I guess people would say I'm the writer.
Okay.
I get a lot of requests for editing people's papers.
Okay.
And I guess, so one goal for my future is to become an editor for a publishing company and publish something of my own.
It's really cool. Any particular genre that you'd like to write?
Children's fiction.
Neat. There's a great market for that. So especially for Christian writers, really cool. Thanks, Linnie. All right, next.
My name's Jeremiah. I live in Dover. This is actually my second year at PCA. My main role at PCA is just a student, basically. And something that people would know me at school for is probably making films that I have posted online of some people that were here last year. Like I make them and edit them, so that's probably something I'm known for.
Okay.
And same thing for going into something, probably just filmmaking, honestly.
Yeah.
And the whole filmmaking business. Things with people like Warner Brothers and that kind of thing.
Where did you pick that up, Jeremiah?
I picked it up kind of just a while ago. I started, filming for fun, and it kind of just evolved into full-fledged videos. And it's just something I really enjoyed doing.
That's really cool. All right. And last but not least.
Hi, my name's Mackenzie, and I live in Ebbing, and this is my second year at PCA. My main role is being a small group leader, probably. And I would say I'm known for being in voices and being a singer.
Yeah, so there's definitely a creative theme going on here. Different ways, entrepreneurial, creative. That's really cool. And the one thing you all have in common is that you're all small group leaders. And the listeners, especially if they're adults, have probably had enough life experience to go, well, that could look like a lot of different ways. Could you all describe, maybe starting with you, Charlie, but going around the table, what does small groups look like at PCA?
So my small group, I lead with another co-leader. He does a wonderful job helping there with me. And when we all get together, we usually start with the highs and lows of our week. We share something high. And then if we're feeling it, maybe a low, depends. And then after that, we dive into the questions, which we were given for chapel. And we talk about it. And then after that, we head out in prayer and then go on with our days.
Okay. All right. Anything you all like to add to that? Or does it look similar or different for you?
We usually dive right into the questions, and then afterwards we do prayer requests, and if we have time, we do a game.
A game?
Yeah.
Where do you come up with your games, Mackenzie?
We do all kinds of things. We've done fishbowl, heads up, 7-up, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you also have a co-leader?
I have 2 co-leaders, Marion and Meisner.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. How about you two? Does it look any different? Same?
I would say my group takes a short amount of time to get through questions because they don't talk a lot.
Okay. And then what do you all do for the rest of your time?
I usually bring in donuts for them.
Okay. So that brings a smile to their face. That's pretty cool. How about you, Jeremiah?
Yeah, honestly, I would just say all the ways that, these people just described it. That's essentially how it goes.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to shout people out?
Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie did, so you can.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to give a shout out to one of the heroes in our small group who actually leads it. Someone named Mr. Engerhofer. And what this guy does is he buys donuts every Friday.
There's a donut theme going on.
Yes, he does. And I don't remember the company of the donuts, but like, it's just amazing because it really brings the group together. Like you can tell once everyone's had some food, they're like more open.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Well, I appreciate that. So Jeremiah just brought up that there's a faculty tie-in here. So how does the faculty tie in for each of you?
In my small group, my faculty member is Mr. Miller.
Okay.
And he usually ties in with when there's some silence in the group, and he does a really great job with that. He always has some insight or another side question to ask the group, which really gets them going, which is very nice.
Okay. And how about you all? Who's your faculty sponsor here?
Our small group advisor is Mrs. Wolkaba, and she is pretty much like a member of the group. She sits quietly and listens, but she also participates when she can tell that we need somebody to say something.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I have Miss Shu as my kind of teacher leader.
As Mrs. Shoemaker, for all those who don't know her quite as Miss Shu, but I know exactly who you're talking about, Mackenzie.
Yeah, I would say she helps facilitate discussion and the games, but she's very fun to be around.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Well, it's definitely a team effort, but I for those listening, one of the things we really are amazed about is watching these leaders and other student leaders really take the lead and guide their community. And so to that end, what I wanted to hear, I'll go to Mackenzie, I'll go to you first. What inspired you to even consider being a small group leader? Because, I mean, you're not drafted. I mean, you're certainly invited.
Yeah.
And then how has that impacted you on your faith journey?
So last year was my first year at PCA, and I was kind of new to the whole small group thing. I didn't really know how it would go. But over the course of the year, I really liked, so I had Tatum Smith and Avery Womberg as my leaders.
Okay.
And I really liked the way that they led discussion, and they were able to kind of help people with bonds. And we even grew outside of the small group. So I just thought it would be cool to help be that leader, that role.
Yeah, really cool. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a junior, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and they were seniors last year. And so you really stepped up.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How, just for your own faith journey, I mean, stepping into that role, I don't know if had you led a small group before, or is this the first time?
This was the first time.
Yeah. So how has God used it to grow you, stretch you?
I think he's kind of used it to help me appreciate other leaders in my life, because it is like a tough job. We met over the summer to kind of learn how to grow in our leadership skills. And I just thought it was really interesting and exciting to learn about. So, yeah.
Okay. Jeremiah, Kenzie mentioned stepping into leadership. How have you grown as a leader in your time as a small group leader here at PCA?
Yeah, good question. So one of the things that you really learn as a leader is it's very different from what you originally thought it was going to be. Some people like internalize or imagine leadership as having all the right answers and studying everything and, being able to meet a certain bar.
Right.
But I've discovered that the more you kind of open yourself up to the people in the group and really get on their level, that's the better way to kind of lead and shepherd people who you're trying to like help understand the gospel. And also like one of the themes of the year is humility. And a leader, at least for me, having humility is being like, I don't fully understand this question. Do you guys? And often that is more effective than just kind of leading it and being above whatever everybody else.
Yeah. How have you seen your guys respond when you take that approach?
Well, definitely meeting them where they are, which is not far off from often where the leaders are. That really encourages them to like make their voice heard and say what they're actually thinking rather than what the leader wants them to say, which is really the goal.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's really amazing. Do they ever surprise you on what they come up with, or tell us a story maybe of how that's played out?
Well, there has been one time when they tell stories sometimes in response to the questions about humility. And one person in our small group, I think he was on the soccer field, and this one person was being really aggressive towards him. And he kind of like didn't respond to the aggression and was more acting like a servant on the field, which is a really kind of a real life scenario where you can apply this.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. I can only imagine what you all are going through. I mean, leading your peers, I think, is one of the hardest things to do. I mean, really trying to connect with them. You lead through your ability to make those connections. And it's not always easy, as you described. Charlie, I imagine you've learned a few things along the way. It's your first year leading.
Yep.
So what are a couple things that you feel like you've really been able to learn and grow at as a leader yourself?
So I feel like the most valuable lesson that I've learned is really how to communicate more with my peers and also the leadership aspect. Because coming into this, my expectations were much different than what they are now.
Okay.
And I felt, because last year I was in the same group with a lot of the same people and I wasn't the leader. And it was much easier than I thought being a leader was. But now that I am a leader, it's much harder because leading the group is not always something I've been the best at. But this year, I wanted to try to take the role as a small group leader and kind of lead my peers and really try to grow in that sort of area, which I'm very glad I was able to do.
So take us a little bit. I appreciate you sharing just a little bit of what it looks like versus what it is. What are maybe one or two areas that really was different than what you anticipated, and how did you respond to it?
The communication aspect. Last year, I would sometimes tend to sit back on some of the questions because I didn't always have the right answer, I would feel like, even though there's not really a right answer to questions where kind of just participation is almost better than saying nothing at all in most cases. But what was the question?
Well, I think as you learn about communication and how to, really do that, what were your challenges and how did you overcome them? Because it sounded like you saw it happen and it seemed fairly seamless last year. And then all of a sudden you're the leader and like, whoa, this communication thing is a little harder than it.
Yeah. So I think I've really overcome that challenge with the help of my co-leader.
Okay.
And he does a great job, like I was saying, filling in the silence. And we talk after the small group and we reflect on what went well and what we could do better next time. And so he really helps with that communication aspect of it.
When you lead your group, and maybe this is if any of the others want to chime in here, what is it you're hoping to have like through your time? Because you're meeting about weekly, right? After chapel.
Yeah.
And and it's only for about 20 minutes or so? Pretty short. What are you hoping to accomplish, generally speaking, on most Fridays?
Yeah.
I would most like to accomplish in my small group really just participation from everybody.
Yeah.
And we can all kind of dive into the questions and explore them, eventually maybe come up with some insights to apply to our own life.
Okay. Anybody else want to share anything on that?
Yeah, I would add on to that. And that's definitely a facet of small groups. And really one of the big goals of small group time is kind of getting in each other's shoes and really building bridges across that you wouldn't really build otherwise if you didn't meet here weekly.
Right.
And having those icebreakers like highs, lows, and buffaloes and participating in these questions, that's the end goal because you're trying to get to know these people and know where they are spiritually.
So you just said, I heard the highs and lows before, but you mentioned buffaloes. What's a buffalo?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So a buffalo is a random fact, not high, not low, just something completely out of the blue.
Does anybody else use highs, low buffaloes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I totally makes sense. And humor is also another way. Do you find how many, and for those who didn't answer, I think one of the questions is in my mind is which one do most people want to go after? The high, the low, or now the buffalo?
In my group, it's usually highs, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe a mix. Yeah. Not really buffaloes.
No buffaloes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Buffalo free, intensive small group, generally speaking. Well, how about you, Linnie? Where do most people tend to want to go?
I don't think they want to answer any of them,
Okay.
but they usually do all of them.
Okay.
It's just kind of harder to think of some than others, depending on the week.
Yeah. Okay. Mackenzie, this is again, first year, you're a junior, right? So how has your leadership experience influenced your approach to leading small groups, but maybe leadership in general?
I would say before this leadership role, I've been kind of like what Charlie said, a little timid in answering questions and stepping up. But I think that, in other places in my community, like in my youth group that I go to, I really like to help other people because we've had some questions before that have been really tricky to understand. So just like working through them and seeing how other people are understanding them
Okay.
is really interesting, and then kind of guiding the conversation.
Yeah, it requires a lot of active listening, doesn't it?
Mhm.
You really gotta like, okay, what do they mean? Where are they going? How do I tie that in?
Yeah.
Do you, when you all are working with a small group, do you ever find, so maybe Linnie and I, you and I are sort of having this dialogue, but there's another element of, you have to somewhat be aware of like what else is going on in the small group, reading their expression or their posture. Do you guys find that a challenge? Or and maybe, I don't know if you get any help with that with your co-leader or the faculty advisor, but Kenzie, I know where we're talking with you. Is that a part of the challenge? Or
I would say it is a challenge. Some of the students in our group are introverts and some are extroverts, so it's an interesting mix. But I think a goal for our group would definitely be to just have equal participation.
Sure.
And, building some bonds between the students.
Yeah. Now we're not quite halfway through the year. How would you say you've seen connections made? So Charlie, you had many of the same people from last year in your small group. Linnie, is your small group pretty much a lot of commonality, or is it completely different?
No. I got moved because usually when you become a leader, they move you from the group that you were in before.
Okay.
And so it's like a totally random, in my mind, group of people.
Okay.
And that makes it difficult because not everybody wants to then talk to the people
Sure.
around them. And I think it makes it more difficult because they're less open, and most of the time they just sit there quietly.
Okay. Yeah. So they can be hard to try on. Sounds like you've got quite a few introverts in your group. Somebody reminded me, by the way, real fast, I assume, or somebody might assume, I'm not going to assume anything. Somebody might assume that you're all leaders, therefore you're all extroverts. What do you think? Is that accurate or not?
Nope.
No?
I'm more of an ambivert, I would say.
A what?
An ambivert.
Oh, tell
Kind
me.
of a mix.
Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh. Yeah, you're mixed. How about you, Linnie?
I really don't know what I am. I think
Okay.
it depends on the crowd.
I'd say I'm more on the extroverted side when it comes to
Yeah.
being with people.
Yeah. Somebody had a description, and moms and dads, this isn't like scientific or anything. It's where do you draw energy? So if people give you energy, and being alone, like I've got to be with people, that's kind of a telltale sign of being an extrovert as opposed to introverts. So a lot of introverts who love being around people, but I got to get some time away and regroup. That's sort of a classic side of an introvert. But the population is about 50-50. And oftentimes husbands and wives are like a little different, and they really help each other. So anyway, I appreciate the fact, Linnie, that you have a largely introverted group. But one of the things somebody reminded me is introverts are often thinking deeply, and they may or may not be fully aware of what they're thinking, but you're having an impact just by being with them and walking with them. Do any of you have someone in your group that is generally very quiet, but when they speak, like everybody listens?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, there's some folks like that. I find those are particularly powerful in a small group because they're with you, right? They're with you in the time, but you're like, I wonder what they're thinking. And then sometimes they'll really share, and it's pretty profound. Well, cool. Well, thank you. It is a stretch to lead. And so, Linnie, you've talked a little bit about some of the challenges of leading. So how have you navigated that? How have you overcome some of those challenges?
I think I'm still working on it.
Sure.
It's a little bit difficult when you read a question and ask for thoughts and you don't get any.
Yeah.
I have learned over the time I've had as a leader to say things even if I really have nothing to say,
Okay.
if only for the sake of breaking the silence.
Okay.
And it's difficult because they don't respond. So I don't really know how I'm being received.
Sure.
So I kind of just have to keep trying even if it's not working.
Yeah, there are many, I don't know if this encourages you and others who may be in this, that, that God is a God of the silence, and that his word, whether it's read in chapel, you read it there, his word will not return void, and that's living. And sometimes that's just how God chooses to work. So, I appreciate the fact you're still navigating, and, it's, we all face those different challenges at times, but your love for your small group, definitely will come through in time. Charlie, how about you? Any challenges, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I would have to agree with Linnie on almost all of what she said. The biggest challenge in my small group being some with silence after a question is asked, because sometimes it's just a hard question or people really don't know what to say. And I've overcome them with the help of some of the members of my small group, my co-leader and Mr. Miller.
Yeah.
So there's one specific member in my small group who's extremely extroverted. He's a very friendly guy and always has a lot to say, which comes in handy in those times of silence. And Sean, my co-leader, he'll always add something when it's necessary. And Mr. Miller always with the side insights and always helping out when there's a little bit of silence in there.
Yeah, to guide into well, that's good. Again, having a team effort can also really help along the way. And it sounds like you've formed that within your group and knowing some of the gifts of the members of your team. Jeremiah, as you've got to know your small group, how have you fostered a sense of community and trust among them?
Well, there's different ways that you can go about it. One way is to like just kind of do the small talk and get it over with and treat it like that. Or you can like genuinely kind of be interested in their experiences.
Sure.
I've found that if you can understand how they think about this stuff that they're doing and like get in their shoes, that is a more effective way of kind of fostering community, because if you're genuinely interested in them, that's just better than if you were just being social.
So where do you find that genuine interest in them?
Well, it all comes from like, you give what you receive from God,
right?
For me. And if God can really listen to my problems and, what I have to say to him, I can give that to others because, if you receive it from God, then he enables you to do it to other people so they can know his love.
That's really cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Linnie, what advice would you give to new small group leaders? Because there's going to be a whole new cohort in a couple of months that's going to, start praying through the process. And as they think about that, what would you say to them?
I would say to do it, even if it feels unfruitful, because it is going to be fruitful in time. Even if it's not something that you can see, it will be something that God can see and something that the members of your group can feel. And it's important to be able to kind of bridge a gap between you and some people that you wouldn't necessarily make time to talk with if you weren't put in a group together. So it kind of helps you connect with others and get to know them as best as you can.
Thanks for that. I hope they'll take that on as they consider that. Charlie, I think you're the only one who won't necessarily potentially be coming back in the capacity as a small group leader here. But maybe as you head off to your next step, you'll be able to lead small group wherever you're going. So we shared before, ladies and gentlemen, as you're listening, shared with the student leaders here that we got middle school families, middle schoolers possibly, others that may be considering coming to PCA. So I asked them what encouragement in general they would give about small group life at PCA, either through their experience or in general. And I thought we'd just go around the table, however they wanted to attack this, and share some encouragement as we close out today's discussion.
I would say, as a word of encouragement, that these small groups have kind of taught me to really learn about the gifts that God has given me, and also kind of listening and looking for other people's gifts, because we all have different things that we can bring to the table. So I would say try to, pray and ask for maybe what your gifts are and how you can improve your community, and also look for the gifts in other people.
Thanks so much. Seeing the gifts in other people.
My encouragement to anyone who's looking to take on the role is that your perception is not always going to be true, especially if it's about spiritual stuff.
Okay.
So if you think small group is going one direction and you're seeing all these things, maybe that is true, but it might not also. Maybe it's having more success than you think it's having. And so just go forward with the confidence that, God's going to speak through you because it's his word. And, you won't always know how effective it is, but God always knows, and he'll enable you.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah. Linnie, any words of encouragement that you haven't shared already?
I would say keep an open mind and try not to assume things. Let things surprise you and then kind of embrace them, either as things about people in your group or things about the way you lead that you didn't know you were capable of doing or wanted to do. And try not to let something that you didn't expect discourage you from keeping on.
Okay. Well, I hear us just to be faithful, trust God. Yeah, that's cool. And Charlie, wrap us up. Word of encouragement.
I'd say if you're looking to be a small group leader, it really is a great way to grow in your prayer life. Because coming into this, my prayer life was weaker than it is now, I believe. And just praying us out in small groups in public with a group of guys has really almost helped me improve my prayers in groups of people and in my private life as well.
Yeah, definitely stretching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have necessarily ready or time for today, and I shared a little bit, but these leaders and the student body at the upper school just continues to show that they really believe that their studies are part of a bigger story of God in their lives, and they're meaningful. They pray for their classmates and with them regularly and a lot, and it's making a difference. They're growing, and they're seeking to really walk well, to build one another up where they run into conflict, to resolve it biblically. Not always easy to do, is it? But we've got small group leaders among the student body, like the four you've heard today, who are joyfully and stepping into that, even though they're just really doing this with their peers. And just for the four of you, thank you so much for sharing some of your journey. And we pray that the Lord would continue to encourage you as you do what I think is the most significant leadership ministry here at PCA, and that's a small group leader. So have a blessed Thanksgiving, everybody, to you student leaders, and we look forward to seeing you on campus here in a little bit for the Advent season. So God bless you.